In Pit Lane is proudly brought to you by Dynotech by Dyno Dynamics. For your nearest workshop, visit our website. And with the support of the Ramada Resort, Phillip Island.
As much as I appreciated the bottle of bourbon and coke that was given to me before the show, I shouldn't have sculled it. It's now coming back to me, haunting me like something that haunts you. Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane. Well, this is it, the big weekend of the year, the Australian Formula One Grand Prix. Apart from the World Championship for Formula One, there is of course a big V8 supercar race. In fact, there's 4 of them happening this weekend. And joining us a little bit later on to talk all things V8 supercar will be from Gary Rogers Motorsport, Fujitsu Racing, Scott McLaughlin. But right now, before we move on, we're going to take you down to Phillip Island as well. An amazing weekend at Phillip Island, and the sports cars, the classic sports cars, will be in action this weekend at Albert Park as well. And if you didn't see them down the island and hear them, you've got to go to Albert Park to hear them. You'll love this. But right now, let's find out what is happening at Albert Park this weekend. Let's go all the way to the top. Joining us once again on In Pit Lane, please welcome the CEO of the Australian Grand Prix Corporation, Andrew Westacott. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Brett. I think this is a tradition. Grand Prix Tuesday, and I'm on Pit Lane with yourself.
Yes, it has become something. You're almost an unofficial cast member. We'll have to get you in reading the news one night.
I'd love it, love it. I won't be having the pre-dinner drinks like yourself, though.
No, that's it. I don't recommend it to others. It's a trap for young players. Let's cut to the chase. How are things going down at Albert Park? How are the preparations going?
Absolutely superbly. There's 600 tonnes of freight that's all been unloaded. The cars I was walking through the garages today, they're all being put together with that mechanical precision you'd expect. A few of the drivers in town, Daniel Ricciardo is meeting the Rolex Grid Girls. There's sponsor signs going up, the lawns are being mowed, and bit of a touch for the Aussies this year, green and gold gravel traps. Not the same ones, we're going to mix them. It goes green at one, gold the next one, just to get that extra patriotism, because we need Mark on the podium this year.
It would certainly be a great boost. I mean, the guy's under enough pressure, and we have an interview with Mark Webber a little bit later as well, where he talks about racing at Melbourne at the end of the Grand Prix. He's under so much pressure, but it would be a huge boost for the race, wouldn't it, to see him get up and win the race?
Well, he had his best result last year, finishing 4th. Daniel Ricciardo made the top 10, and you never know what to read into pre-season testing in Spain, especially in the cold weather they had. But everyone says that Red Bull's going to be fast, but it'll always be Red Bull, McLaren and Red Bull, McLaren and Ferrari here, but you never know. The Lotuses have always been quick as well.
Lotus have put in a label. Kimi Räikkönen came on very strong. He's had a full year behind him, and also you've got the pre-season form for Mercedes was very good with Lewis Hamilton.
With Lewis,
moving over.
He'll want a bit more out of Mercedes than he got last year. And then Sergio Perez moving in, he got some quick times, but may have been on qualifying tyres and low fuel levels.
You can never trust testing, and we'll know for sure. And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? I mean, we know for sure now. There's no foxing, there's no hedging the bets this weekend. This is the real thing.
Yeah, I know all your viewers love motorsport, but it's like the start of any season. There's anticipation, whether it's footy, rugby, soccer, you name it, but every sports fan around the world who loves Formula One is waiting for Melbourne, and that's why we have it here, and things are going really well down at Albert Park.
And that's one of the things that we do have, isn't it? I mean, the fact that this is the first race, when people say that, it doesn't get the attention that it deserves and all that. I mean, for a start, you try and get a hotel room in Melbourne this weekend. I looked, unless you're prepared to pay $1,000 or more, you're not getting into this place.
No, from the Hotels Association themselves, they say that the underlying level of accommodation in March, and it's a busy week and it's a busy month in March, goes from 75% occupancy to 95%, if not 100% in some of them. So that is putting real people from interstate and overseas. There's about 37 to 40,000 people who come into Melbourne for that, and they stay between 3 days and 10 days, depending on whether they're interstate or overseas visitors. So it's good for the economy, and it's good for all those people who make the bread rolls, the flowers, make the beds, you name it. People get employment out of it.
The interesting thing that you've got coming up this weekend, I think this is a fabulous idea. We've seen the statues at the MCG of Shane Warne and Lee Matthews and Dennis Lilly, all those sort of champions. Similar thing at Albert Park coming up this weekend for our 2 world champions. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Well, it was born out of exactly that. There's champions, and then there's heroes like Sir Jack Brabham, 3 times world champion, and Alan Jones winning in 1980. So we've immortalised them in bronze, along with the cooperation and assistance financially from CAMS, the Confederation of Australian Motorsport. So that's going to be unveiled on Sunday, and they're permanently going to be reside overlooking the Grand Prix circuit in the vicinity of the pit buildings, and this is going to be absolutely fantastic as a way of recognising the best drivers Australia's ever had, our 2 world champions.
Well, I think that's one of the things, as we've said before on the program, if you go overseas, the level of respect for Sir Jack Brabham compared with what he gets over here is just incredible. What he achieved is, you know, Hollywood would make a film out of it. This is a guy who, well, we won't go into the history, we could talk on that all, but it's great to see him being honoured.
A Melbourne sculptor named Barbara McLean has done the work. She did the 34 bronze busts at the tennis centre of our famous tennis players, and so she met and spent time with both Sir Jack and also Alan, and was really touched by their, I guess, the power and the grandeur that they have and the presence that they had. And so she's recreated the way they were back in their glory days, of whether it's late 50s and early 60s for Sir Jack or Alan Jones. It's not like Alan Jones was when he came down to watch Stan Jones in the Maybach, but it's like he was in 1980.
Yeah, and people do forget the history of the track, and that's going to be celebrated also. CAM's 60th anniversary, so that's being celebrated as well.
It is CAM's 60 years since the first Australian Grand Prix was held at Albert Park, and for any of the fans who love memorabilia, we've got videos, we've got interviews with drivers. The oldest driver, Neil Charge, still alive. He finished 13th in the race. His brother finished 8th. Neil's 92, and he'll be going in a parade lap, and there's trophies from the era, some fantastic display. We've actually got the official program back from 1953, so people can take that away as a souvenir.
Oh, that'll be worth going for that. That'll just be fantastic. And
it'll also form part of the Grand Prix breakfast that we're having for the first time on the Saturday at Crown Palladium. So there's about 1,000 people going along to hear everyone from Jenson Button and Sergio Perez, the McLaren boys, to Christian Horner and Stefano Domenicali, to get a bit of an insight from a team principal point of view. Well, it is an exciting part of the year. We could talk about it all day, but it all happens, it all gets underway Thursday. Now, what's quickly happening Thursday? We've got to go Thursday's to a break, Heritage Day, so free general admission. Free admission, yes. And that is a great way, if you haven't been along to the event before, you come along Thursday, get a taste for it, and then come back for the real deal on the weekend. The sports cars will be there, and you'll be seeing them in just a moment. I can't wait to see them, because I didn't get down to Phillip Island, so I want to see. Well, you'll see and hear them. Good luck with it for the weekend. But now, Andrew Westacott, thanks again for joining us in Pit Lane. My pleasure. See you next year. You bet. Grand Prix Tuesday. No worries. Thanks, Andrew. Now, when we get back on the program, we're going to take you to the news. And remember, coming up a little bit later on the program, V8 supercar star Scott McLaughlin. You're watching in Pit Lane from Grand Prix City, Melbourne. We'll be right back. Why should you get your car tuned with a Dynotech dyno? Your car will be more fuel efficient. An accurate tune means saving money at the pump. Your car is safe. It never has to leave the workshop to be tested. Increased performance, optimised fuel consumption and more power. Reduced emissions. Protect the environment by minimising your carbon footprint. To find your nearest Dynotech workshop, go to www.dyno.com.au. Dynotech by Dyno Dynamics.